So good afternoon, everyone. It's so exciting to be here with all of you. My name is Max Seunik. I'm an impact investor from Canada, and I'm super excited about this session. Over the next 30 minutes, we're going to be hearing from 3 organizations who tackle an issue that's common to all of us, in fact, common to every single person on this planet. That's water. I myself come from Canada, a huge country with 20% of the world's fresh water, and yet we have Indigenous people living today without access to water. And I think these contradictions are not only in Canada, they're around the world. And what I'm so excited about today is we're going to be exploring this topic from the Amazon River to the River Ganges to the Sahel, and seeing how water appears and disappears in different ways, and how some of our amazing speakers today are tackling that issue in their own technologies and own ways. So first up, I'd like to introduce Céline Cousteau, a documentary filmmaker. Please join me in welcoming her.
Well, thank you everyone for being here, and lovely to go from une super sieste into the flow of water, which I think is very appropriate. The project I've been working on for the past 6 years is called Tribes on the Edge. It's a documentary film and impact campaign that was started at the request of the indigenous people of the Vale do Javari in the Brazilian Amazon, which you see here up on the map. The Javari territory is 85,000 square kilometers. That's about the size of Portugal or Austria, if there's any Americans, the state of Maine. And it holds about 5,000 contacted indigenous peoples in 6 different ethnicities, and the largest number of uncontacted people in the entire Amazon, and some think the entire planet. And uncontacted means absolutely no contact with the outside world. Now, what does it mean to tell a story? First of all, it's knowing who your boss is. You're looking at 3 of my bosses. These are the people that I work for. When I am told who am I accountable to, who do I work for, this is them. They asked me to tell the world that they exist and they want to live. These are people that have looked me in the eye and said, we are afraid of going extinct. We're not talking about dolphins or polar bears or another animal. We're talking about human beings. Now, I will get to the flow of water towards the end, but first I want to share a little bit more about them. You'll see some satellite images have been taken of different places, such as this one, where there are uncontacted people. How do we know they exist? Technology. Satellite images that allow us to see where these different homes are, that allow us to estimate how many people live there, and using that data, using that information is what's important. What do we do with it? Well, what we should be doing with it is creating a demarcated land in which they can live in peace with their human rights, with their land rights, and with their health. But there are so many violations to all of those things because we do not respect their land or their rights or their way of living. But knowing they exist gives us a responsibility. What I'd like to show you here is just a small excerpt from an independent documentary film that I have created at the request of the indigenous peoples. Now, it's a 78-minute film, so you won't see the whole thing here, otherwise you'll take another nap. But what you'll see is just a very small excerpt that I've chosen specifically for this conference. So please just enjoy the next 3 minutes.
Greed is what has driven the invasion of other people's lands over the course of human history. To take what is not of our own, killing in the name of profit. And that's still what's happening today. the current paradigm of agribusiness development is really leading the deforestation that is taking place in the Amazon. In the past 30 years, we've lost 17% of the Brazilian Amazon, mostly driven by cattle ranching, soy production, palm oil, and logging.
We take their land, oil, gold, fish, timber, minerals, without thinking about the consequences.
Do mundo branco, a gente vê que as coisas a gente vê na televisão, a gente vê o mundo assim fora e vê muita coisa bom, né? Mas bom mesmo que nós vivemos aqui é mais boa ainda.
Que mais não que isso os caras são ati que muito mais cupim que muito mais mais tá assim no que tipo canini o já os caras tá na ia ser mana camri o into mais que no ensinato que mais que a nós que não toma e quem tá só inventamos que na no que a nós no que na minha as camri batinet do ensinaro aro cacete a nós por toma.
So that was just a very short piece of a much longer film and a much bigger story that touches on, as I said, just a lot of issues. But why am I presenting it to you here today? Why in the session about water? Well, first of all, if you look at the statistics, 4% of the global population are indigenous peoples, but they protect 80% of biodiversity on their land. If we are wanting to protect biodiversity, if we are wanting to protect the very things that we depend on for life, we should invest in the guardians of those ecosystems. And they are naturally existing. 20% of your oxygen, if you take 5 breaths, which I encourage you to do to wake up from your nap, if you take 5 deep breaths, that 5th breath, that 20%, comes from the Amazon. Where there are indigenous people in the Amazon, there's no deforestation. Just think about that. Now, I show you this. This is a great study that has been done all across the Amazon basin itself. It's called Rios Voadores, flying rivers. Much like the rivers on land have water flow, so does the air. If you look from the Atlantic up into the Amazon basin, you have humidity coming in from the Atlantic, going over into the Amazon. Then you have humidity evaporating from the Amazon. The winds are pushing it towards the west. It's raining in the Amazon. It keeps evaporating. And then it gets pushed towards the Andes. And in the Andes, it hits against the mountains, it keeps raining, and it goes down to southern South America. If the Amazon deforestation continues at the rate at which it's going, we're going to see not only increasing droughts in southern South America, we're going to see accelerating droughts in the Amazon, an acceleration of deforestation and an acceleration of the disappearance of that entire ecosystem. Go back to that 5th breath. If the Amazon goes out of balance, that's our 5th breath, no matter where you are on the planet. And in terms of water flow, we need to stop thinking of water flow just in terms of what comes out of our tap or what flows in the rivers or what's in the oceans, but we need to think about what goes up in the air and what rains where we need it for our crops to grow, for our food systems to come to us. And I go back to the indigenous people as the protectors of these ecosystems. If they are there and they are protecting the land, we don't need to go back and plant trees. This is just a simple map of looking at deforestation. You can see in the small orange square the deforestation that's happening in that area because of palm oil. Single agricultural plantations are creating that amount of deforestation, and it's only increasing. Why? Because of what we purchase and what we consume across the world. It goes back to that part of the video. That agriculture also requires water. But if we're taking the forest down, and we need the forest for evaporation, for water, we are just accelerating the system of degradation. And that's us. The people who are going to suffer are all of us. This is a map, if you look at the orange territories, those are indigenous territories in Brazil and beyond, and the green ones are national parks. If that land stays protected and governed, that's forest that will remain standing, but we need more of it. As a global population, we need more of it. So where does the responsibility lie? On all of us. I put this image up as the last one, just for us to remember. And I will go back. Just for us to remember that we are all connected to everything that happens on this planet. Because we're connected by our waterways, we're connected by our food systems, we're connected by the fact that human beings don't want to go extinct. And I would imagine that if any one of you in this audience were to feel that somebody was threatening your home or your ability to live, you would probably fight with everything you have to protect it. So when somebody tells me, how do you stay so optimistic? I don't think I am. I think I choose to be. I wake up in the morning realizing these are the people I work for. And they fight every day to protect their home, which is an ecosystem on which we depend to live. And if they don't stop fighting, there's no reason why I should too. So I encourage all of you, whenever you wake up in the morning and you're feeling a bit like it's overwhelming, just think about the people that fight day in and day out just to stay alive. And I think you'll find that extra energy. And open up your tap and drink that lovely glass of water and just remember who we owe the fifth breath to. Thank you.
Thank you, Céline, for that very important reminder. Now let me transport you from the Amazon basin to a place that could not be more different, the Sahel. I'd like to introduce Leena and Amara from SOS Sahel to speak to us to an area that's experiencing extreme water stress. Please, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
SOS Sahel est une ONG internationale née au Sénégal en 1976. Initiée par le président Senghor, son objectif est de renforcer la sécurité alimentaire et nutritionnelle sur toute la bande sahélienne, du Sénégal à Djibouti. Au Sahel, l'agriculture est la principale source de revenus pour plus de 90% de la population, alors que la sécheresse constitue une véritable problématique. Au Sénégal, par exemple, plus précisément au nord-ouest du pays, se situe la zone côtière des Niayes. Cette zone fournit 70 à 80% des fruits et légumes du Sénégal, dans un environnement particulièrement fragile. Menacée par le risque d'ensablement et la pression des activités humaines, cette région subit une diminution progressive de son couvert végétal et des eaux de surface. Pour protéger les cuvettes maraîchères des Niayes, le gouvernement sénégalais a investi dès les années 50 dans le reboisement de cette zone. Une bande forestière de filao d'environ 150 km de long, sur 400 mètres de large, de Dakar à Saint-Louis, a ainsi été plantée dans le but de protéger les terres agricoles contre le déplacement des dunes. Grâce au soutien du groupe Accor, SOS Sahel s'est engagé dès 2009 aux côtés des producteurs de la zone pour réintroduire l'arbre au sein des exploitations agricoles afin de protéger et restaurer les terres et ainsi développer la production. Pour assurer des impacts à long terme, SOS Sahel soutient les organisations et les unions de producteurs. Ce sont eux les acteurs du changement.
Thank you. We need water to grow the food that we eat. But one of the greatest challenges of the 21st century is how we can do this without destroying, polluting, or exhausting water resources, especially in places where we don't have a lot of it. Few places are experiencing the acuteness of the water challenge, like the Sahel region in Africa. Per capita water availability in Sahelian countries has dropped by about 40% in the past 20 years. The Sahel is the 5,000-kilometer semi-arid belt under the Sahara Desert, and it is home to 300 million people. It is one of the youngest regions in the world. 64% of the population is under the age of 25 years. Extreme temperatures due to climate change, fluctuating rainfall, and drought cycles have contributed to degrading land in the Sahel, so we have less water for people and animals. In addition to these factors, temperatures are expected to rise 1.5 times faster in the Sahel than anywhere else in the world. So rainy seasons are shorter, more intense, and less predictable. So while droughts are a major issue in the Sahel, floods are also intensifying the challenges of the region due to more concentrated waterfall. 96% of agriculture in Africa is rain-fed, but crops grow poorly even during periods of rainfall because of soil nutrient deficiency, which is a compounding factor for farming. Last year, here at Day 1, SOS Sahel launched a comprehensive program of parallel initiatives in Senegal, Mauritania, Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger, and Chad. Reaching last-mile communities in these countries is impossible without strategic partners. SOS Sahel's activities are implemented by over 1,000 local partners with support and funding from partners such as the Monegas Cooperation for Development. The projects that SOS Sahel deploys in the region of the Sahel are focused on strengthening agricultural value chains, deploying climate-smart technologies, and restoring soil fertility in degraded lands. Together, these projects demonstrate the reality that overcoming the food insecurity challenge, particularly within a compounding and changing environment, means we need to have a new and a fresh approach to innovation in agriculture in Africa.
Along the evolving African agricultural value chain, technology platforms must be embedded in productive infrastructure, which will drive knowledge exchanges and will empower farmers and other stakeholders in given communities of practice, resulting in significant and sustainably inclusive returns. This is how SOS Sahel envisions the future of the food value chain in Africa. Without a doubt, local innovation and new technologies will play a significant role in enabling smallholder farmers in the Sahel to produce more food with less water. SOS Sahel is happy to launch its sustainable platform for agri-tech actors relaying knowledge, Spark 2050 initiative here at Day 1. The initiative will create and incentivize a marketplace of ideas that will lead to 10 breakthroughs in the next 30 years to benefit 300 million people living in the Sahel. Spark 2050 consists of 3 key components. An agric hackathon to encourage social, economic, and technology hacks for Africa's food security challenges and connect local entrepreneurs and investors and financiers. A curated network of local agri-tech actors with potential to boost agricultural production, strengthen food value chains, and improve livelihoods in Africa's food sector, and a platform for knowledge exchange, resourceful problem solving, mentorship, learning, and product development in agriculture. Ladies and gentlemen, we invite you to partner with us to transform the lives of 300 million people living in the African Sahel. Thank you.
Thank you. And wonderful to see follow-up on an initiative launched right here last year at Day 1. And finally, our final group from Alchemy AI, the co-founders Jennie-Marie and Sarah-Louise. Please, welcome to the stage.
Thank you, Max. So Alchemy AI is, we go by the tagline, life-changing applications of AI. And what that means to us is investing our technology in causes that support the United Nations Global Sustainability Goals for 2030. And the one that we're currently focusing most of our time and resources on is number 6. And number 6 says that the entire world's population should have clean water and sanitation by 2030. And that means 7.5 billion people. Now, given that the population is meant to increase to 10 billion by 2050, many, many countries are going to miss that goal by centuries. So this is a major problem. Now, our goal is to clean up the major river water bodies of the world. And we want to use AI to do that. Now, we know that sounds a little bizarre. How do you clean water with AI? But essentially, what we're looking to do is to create a roadmap of success. So that means ingesting and analyzing all data sources that we can get our hands on. So that's satellite data, that's river health data, that's sensor data, that's chemical data, that's every data piece that we can get our hands on. And there are existing 40 years worth of data for this river. And there are other rivers that support this data. So this talk, of course, is about the Ganges River cleanup. Now, the Ganges River is a great place to start to create a roadmap for success because it's enormous, 2,500 kilometers. It serves 650 million people as their entire water source daily. And that river, if you see pictures of it, if you've been to it, it's unbelievably polluted. It's number 1 in the world at the moment. So the attempt to clean up the Ganges has been, of course, numerous times so far. So this is the 3rd or 4th time that they're trying it. This time, the Modi government decided that they were going to do it differently. This time, they were going to seek global help. They were going to look to new technologies because the roadmap of success that, for example, the Rhine River or the Thames River has, which took 30, 40 years, $60 billion, that happened last century. And that's at a time when we didn't have new technologies like blockchain, like AI, like IoT, the list goes on and on. So the Indian government decided and put together this group, this association, the NMCG, which is the National Mission for Clean Ganga, to look to outside international sources of these technologies and invite them in to partner with local Indian groups for the local knowledge, hands on the ground, and look to actually create a much more efficient roadmap to cleaning up this river. So we're very, very fortunate. We were chosen among 30 different companies, and we're excited. We have another one of our partners in the audience today. That it's a water mill technology, so we'll talk about that a little bit later. But we'd like to show you a little bit of what's going on in this project, introduce you to the Ganges Cleanup Project. So if you are able to run the video. Or stare at Lady Data, as we call her.
Ganga, the cultural heritage of India. The symbol of faith for millions. The source of livelihood for crores of people. She is truly a mother, a teacher, a healer, and a provider. What have we given her in return? The lifeline of India is fighting for her own survival. That is why our Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi took a gigantic step towards rejuvenating Ganga.
माँ गंगा 2500 किलोमीटर लंबी, हिंदुस्तान की 40% जनसंख्या जिसके साथ सीधी सीधी जुड़ी हुई है। और मेरे लिए गंगा की सफाई जिस प्रकार से एनवायरनमेंट का विषय है, गंगा की सफाई श्रद्धा का विषय है, गंगा की सफाई सांस्कृतिक विरासत का विषय है, उसी प्रकार से गंगा की सफाई उन 40% उस भूभाग में रहने वाले भाइयों बहनों की आर्थिक उन्नति का भी प्रतीक बन सकता है, और इसलिए उस काम को हमें करना है।
Namami Gange. For the first time in history, the government adopted an integrated approach with an allocation of 20,000 crore rupees for the mission. The strategy was devised for short-term, medium-term and long-term activities. And today, we have come a long way. The construction and maintenance of ghats and crematoria needed to be done, for which we have begun riverfront development projects. To prevent untreated sewage from entering the river, we have embarked on development of sewage treatment plants. Currently, 93 projects are underway in 55 locations, including 2 projects based on PPP model in Varanasi and Haridwar. Industrial pollution has been reduced by sending closure notices to polluting units. All villages on the banks of River Ganga have been made open defecation free. Trash skimmers have been deployed for surface cleaning of the river. Trees have been planted on thousands of hectares of land. To conserve biodiversity of the holy river, we have associated with Wildlife Institute of India and Central Inland Fishery Research Institute for scientific restoration and rejuvenation of aquatic species. We also initiated various programs to encourage community participation.
गंगा हमारी आस्था, संस्कृति और विरासत की प्रतीक है, पर आज गंगा की स्थिति अच्छी नहीं है। मैं आपसे अपील करता हूँ, हम सब मिलकर सबके सहयोग से इसको प्रदूषण से मुक्त करें।
Our Holy Mother needs us today more than ever. To conserve her holiness, Indians from across the world have contributed to Clean Ganga Fund. You too can join this mega movement. Let's bring our mother back to glory. Let's unite together for the national mission.
So we're an AI software company. What does the data tell us about the scale of this problem and what we can do to help solve it? Over 90% of the plastics in our oceans today come from just 10 rivers around the world, and the Ganges is number 1 on that list. Pollution from the Ganges accounts for 600 tons of plastic going into the oceans every year. 3,000 litres of raw sewage a day, and 650 million people depend upon that water supply to survive. That's like the whole of Europe depending upon just one river for all of its water. Imagine if the only water that you had to drink came from the world's most polluted river. How would you feel? It's a huge challenge to monitor the 2,500 kilometres of this river. But the answers do lie in the data. In order to help gather information, the Indian government has authorized the use of a mobile app so that local people can collect river data. This means that whole communities become actively involved in measuring and monitoring the health of this precious water supply. This is going to be combined with data from other sources, which include the weather data, satellite images, population health and demographics, how is the pollution affecting the population, and also industrial activity along the river. Most importantly for the project in which we're involved, what's the performance of the cleanup technologies that have been invited to be part of the project? The Indian government is using Alchemy's AI for dynamic risk assessment and real-time decision-making. That means finding answers to what has happened, why, and how. Predictive analytics identifies what-if scenarios for the future, forecasting what would the situation look like if we carried on or we made significant changes over the next 12 months, 3 years, 10 years, or even 30 years. Answering the question of what is the real cost of water. And the true cost of water isn't just about the financial implications. By using AI, as Jennie-Marie said, we include all of the data. So that means we can understand the cost to the environment and to life in our environment. We feel really privileged to be part of this project, using our technology to help restore the environment. We want to look at how we're going to predict, forecast the viability and efficiency of large-scale projects by using AI to look ahead and try and understand where best to use money and resources that will actually save time and save money and hopefully save lives. Prescribing what to do next is a very important part of using AI. How we use those limited funds to solve the most crucial problems. Our technology is ready to be used on other environmental projects around the world. Perhaps we should all start looking at what we need to do with the other 9 rivers that are causing so much pollution in our oceans so that all of us can benefit for the future. Thank you very much.
To our speakers, I feel absolutely humbled to have shared the stage with you today. Each of you is tackling this problem in such a fascinating and interesting way. And please, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in thanking them one last time. I think each of us is hopeful that whether you're taking a 5th breath, thinking about a new part of the world, or considering the implications of technology for things that perhaps you didn't think were possible, that each of you leaves feeling a bit more inspired about what the world looks like from the perspective of water for tomorrow. Thank you very much.